trying to make this video?
Oh, geez.
Years?
It's been like 2 years.
But today's the day, finally! Please tell me about your beautiful wagon here, because first off, this color is just amazing. Just pay no attention to the tape and other items that make this car a pure driver.
Yeah, she's definitely a survivor to say the least. So, long story short, this car was totaled at some point in time within the past 5 years.
But I love this though because it's basic. These cars are rare in itself to the point where it's sad to say, but a lot of these are starting to become in that realm of people are too scared to drive them now.
Yeah.
And this one is the farthest thing from that. Like this is, if Ed Bullion had a Volvo wagon, this would be it.
It is daily driven. In its ownership when it did run, it was daily driven. So I've been driving this every day since Christmas Eve of last year. So I've had this for a year and 2 days now.
Nice.
It only left me stranded 3 times, but through a couple easy fixes, it's been fine since then.
We'll get into the reliability of this in a second, because it's actually got one thing that sets us apart from others that makes it better. Because I have heard, is it true that some of these aren't the most reliable thing in the world when they are stock?
Yeah, R stands for repair.
Well, go to the hood. We'll focus on the inside. What is the name of this color exactly?
So this is a Sonic Blue Atacama configuration. It came with most of the bells and whistles, which half of them got deleted. It is also manual swapped. I think a lot of the parts drive a 2004, which this car is a 2006.
And how hard was it, the manual swap?
I personally don't know. It got done at Revolve in Oxford, Massachusetts.
Gotcha.
And they also did the manual swap on my other Volvo, and they've done a great job on both of them.
You hear that? This man's taking automatics and throwing them out the window and making them elite again for all the manual fans out there, which I'm such a fan of. I don't know what the autos feel like in these, but I can't imagine it's anywhere near as fun as a spaceball. That is such a bizarre shifter too. I've always loved that about the R's. Like, what other car even looks like this? It's actually not that hard to drive too, which is nice. I wasn't really sure how that would feel, but it does feel really great. This color scheme too, I was very undecided about it, but seeing it in this with this color with the blue on the outside, it really works, honestly. Like, even like the blue gauges too, with the blue boost gauge, it ties it all together, honestly. I do love it.
It definitely gives me the late 90s, early 2000s Nickelodeon vibes with the colorway.
Why don't we pop the hood and take a look under there?
For 3 right now, and this time we wanted to make it reliable. So, I don't remember the exact engine code, but I believe the block is out of a 2007 S60 T5. So it's got the 2.4 liter 5-cylinder instead of the 2.5 liter. The reason being is 2.5s like to crack with their really thin Siamese decks. People tend to sleeve them or shim them if they're pushing above stock power. Still has the stock head off of the R with the different block, and then other than that it's just intercooler, snub, intake, Audi S4 MAF.
What?
Yeah, it's running a MAF out of an Audi S4 for the tuning, because the stock MAF, it's pretty much at its limits.
How did you know that would work? That's so cool to me. That's because, like I mentioned to you earlier, that's one of those things I would never know that. If I wasn't like a diehard, like I'm not that I'm a diehard Volvo person to begin with, but like that's just one of those quirky little things that just sets the car apart from everything else.
Forums and my tuner.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah, so it is actually running a hybrid Borg Warner K24 Turbo. Don't know the trim level, but from what I've heard, it's not as big as the hybrids that you get from like Viva Performance. But yeah, I'll say the end result is definitely very torquey.
Oh yeah, we're gonna experience that right about now. Alrighty, driving a 2006 V70R that's sort of a V70R. It's still a V70R, it's just a very different kind of V70R. Let's see what first is made of. Wow. What is this making for power?
I don't know.
You gave me a rough guesstimate, but I honestly already forget.
Yeah, well, I know it's 300 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque stock, but does have an intercooler intake, bigger turbo, pushing like extra 5 pounds, so I would guess maybe mid 300s, upper 300s. I know my dad got this on the dyno with the engine that had the cracked block, so 3 cylinders were misfiring, and that was doing 330 at the rear wheels. And 300.
Do you get a coolant scent?
Yep.
Okay. So as far as driving this thing so far, so for starters, we're going to start from the second you get in. It's more comfortable than any modern Volvo I've honestly been in any recent time. Like, this is, like, these are so nice. Why did they ever change this? They're just so nice. I could sit in this thing all day long, first off. The spaceball, like I said, it actually doesn't feel weird at all. I wasn't really sure what I was going to think of that because, well, look how different that is.
Yeah, and what's actually really cool with the spaceball is that everything there's floating. So sometimes when I'm, like, sitting at a stoplight, I'll, like, just take the shifter and just, like, spin the ball around.
Is this lowered at all?
It is on BC Racing coilovers. This car does sit about an inch lower.
I will say, on the back roads, it definitely does show its weight a little. I mean, it's a gigantic station wagon. It's not exactly a nimble vehicle that weighs nothing, but it doesn't handle bad by any means. Although, like you said, the tires aren't exactly the greatest, so we are driving it like a little conservatively. Like, it's actually, is it front-wheel drive bias, this all-wheel drive?
Yeah.
I can tell.
It's definitely front-wheel drive bias.
Like, the way it just pulled to the right there when I gave it some. I will say, you definitely could benefit from some bigger brakes in this. I definitely noticed that being a weak point.
Well, it does have the 4-pot Brembos, but
really,
the pads and rotors are pretty shot, and the rotors
That's what it is.
The rotors are really warped right now.
Yeah, because I will put it this way: when I'm trying to stop this going into this corner, like we mentioned, it's not the best.
It's a little shuddery.
Setup. You definitely feel the weight of the car.
Oh yeah,
like just surging forward as you're trying to stop. Oh, 5 cylinders are just their own animal, too. You never see any cars with 5-cylinder turbo setups, which is why, to me, the RS3 is one of the best cars made in the past 10 years. It falls in the category of this thing. Like, it's such a cool car that really, I can't believe exists. Because, like, I feel like from the factory, like, a 5-cylinder turbo car, like, in a tiny package just shouldn't in this day and age.
Yeah.
But, my God, I am so happy it does. Even this too, it's like someone looked at a giant station wagon and said, you know what, we should make this fast. Let's make this fast and sell it. This is awesome. I knew this was going to be a good car, but I love this thing even more than I thought I was going to.
It's just very comfortable too. Like, it doesn't feel as big as it is.
This is a prime example that a normal practical car does not have to be boring.
Actually, how we acquired this car is we were painting a client's house and they were moving out, and they sold this car to us for $1,000.
You're joking.
They sold to us for $1,000 running and driving.
Running?
It was running, driving, and everything. It just had a misfire, which ended up being a warped block, but neither of us knew that. Yeah, they thought this car was done because it had over 100,000 miles.
Yeah, now we're sitting at 213,378 currently.
Yep. Yeah, the main thing is that this thing just burns oil, like when engine braking
I
and
smell
stuff like
it
that.
right now.
Yep. It's a quart like every 1,500 to 2,000 miles, so it's not too bad.
So, as far as, for the Volvo people out there, I'm going to go on the record and say this on camera. I get it now. This thing is awesome. No, I totally get it. These things are a friggin' rocket ship.
It's surprisingly efficient on the highway. Going from Boston to Manchester, because that's a usual commute for me, I usually get around 25, 26 miles per gallon. But then city, I get about 12. But this thing runs a little rich.
Like I said, that's what I love about this thing. You can tell this thing has lived a driving life.
Oh, yeah.
Far. Like I said, if Ed Bollingham were to drive a Volvo V70R, it would be this one. And they definitely did a great job too with the swap too. Like I had no idea this was swapped till today.
And yeah, so this car was off the road for 3 years with the swap, so I'm just glad that this thing drives as good as it does after sitting for 3 years. The main issue is like leaks and condensation.
Yeah, no, you and your father have definitely made a wonderful machine here.
Thank you so much, it means a lot, and he would be really proud to see where this car is at right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely... Definitely an amazing car for sure. I'm definitely convinced of how good these are now.
Hello, Asifer.
I don't even know what the speed limit is here. Hey, he's not moving, so that's a good start.
He's like, wow, that thing looks so pretty.
He probably was, honestly. And that's what's sad, too. There's fewer and fewer parts. Not even, like, the R, per se. Like, this car is one of those ones that, like, unfortunately, for normal people who aren't car people who are invested into these, they do fall apart. I can confidently say, from all the ones I've had to work on, like, even just, like, things like rubber trim and stuff, they just disintegrate in your hands at this point if they haven't been replaced before or maintained. If it's basically lived any kind of life like this, where it's like was driven as a car, there's a chance it's probably not on the road anymore, unfortunately. I honestly hate talking about cost of things just on camera, just for the fact that I feel like that's something that can definitely ruin a car. I like to focus on the actual car, like during the video, and like how good it is. How expensive was it to manual swap this?
I don't know, but I'll tell you for
like a guesstimate if you had one.
I'll say the engine swap, the manual swap, and again the BC coilovers and tune and all of that whole stuff. It was around, I think, $12,000.
Oh my goodness!
So I paid $7,000 out of pocket last year, and then put another $3,000 in parts, which are sitting at my house right now. So once I find a place to work on this car, I'll be putting that in.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. No. That is a lot.
Yeah. This car's definitely not cheap, but
that's definitely not a casual. Well, we'll try it and see how it goes. That's a you have to love it.
The cost is pretty much what you would expect for a Euro car. It's just when you start getting to the proprietary Volvo stuff is when it gets really expensive. If it's not Volvo specific, it's pretty affordable.
Holy revs though. This thing revs all the way to 8?
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to, but...
Oh, it revs to 8, no problem, but you probably noticed just because this is on a very basic street tune, it's almost like when you shift, you have to like let the compressor bypass valve do its job and then you clutch in. And I forgot how to drive stick when I first got this.
And I can already tell you right now, like, I will just go out and make everybody hate me for saying this. This versus a WRX, like, in terms of being a car, this by a landslide. Like, not even for the fact this has mod drive, this just feels so much cooler and drives so much cooler. Like this I can't believe how like much of a driver's car this thing really feels like.
It's very understated, so like you don't know what this car is unless if you know the car, it seems.
I freak out every time I see one on the road, like whether it's this or an S60R. And even sometimes you can tell the person in the, like, I remember there was an S60R on the highway next to me one day. You could just tell, like, they had no idea what it was. I guarantee it was like some kid who bought like an automatic one for like, oh, it's a cheap car. Like, had no idea what he even was driving. Sad too, because to me, Volvo's, in a way, they've really lost their touch with this era of car. This whole era of Volvo too, to me, was like one of the last ones I really paid heavy attention to. I mentioned this in the video on Rob's car. This era was like, they weren't boxy anymore. They were rounded off. They had definitely grown in size. It definitely passed off as more of the luxury car they were going for, I felt like. It just hasn't been the same since these days, honestly. Like, this is just... it's hard to find stuff like this anymore, which really kind of sucks. Even this car in 2006 had adaptive suspension, which that's mind-blowing to me. This is 2006, like, this is a car before the recession even happened that has adaptive features like that on it.
It's very 05 rich. If you know, you know.
Oh, definitely.
If you know that basic group.
Like, I can honestly feel how much of a car, like, good car this was, like, when it first came out, how much of a big deal you probably were if you had one. Like, this to me is honestly kind of like when having a Volvo really meant something.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to describe it. Like, oh, they've got, like, not to say Volvos are bad now, but like back then it was a much bigger deal than it is now. All right, so what is some advice you'd give to someone who's very interested in finding a Volvo R product of any kind?
All right, well, the first thing is make sure they have a stack of maintenance records. These cars, you can find them for under 10 grand pretty consistently. Color and condition depending, because in the used market, I've seen people jack these up like 6 grand just because.
Yeah, it's insane. So this is actually does fall into that market of car. So it's what actually makes me curious. If anyone has an automatic one, I'd actually like to do a video on it just to kind of see. It's one of those things, automatics for both this and the S60, I would say, what, like 5 grand?
You can find them for 5 to 8 grand, and the automatics.
And that's with like COVID inflation too. I've definitely seen them as low as like 3 before.
Yeah, like before COVID, these were going all day for 3 to 4 grand because most of them are in like disrepair.
Yeah.
Usually for the same like 3 problems.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the second a manual comes in, because there was only just over 3,000 units made of the V70 alone with a spaceball manual, it's a 5-digit number all day long. It's just the way it is. They were never exactly a mainstream car with a manual. They're hard to find, and as we saw, this one was converted to be a manual. That alone should go to show you, like, that's what manual swaps are worth doing, when you literally can't find the car manual or it doesn't exist. Can we talk about, too, the signature Volvo wagon taillights that are almost the size of like the only thing that outweighs these at this point is like a dustbuster minivan or Escalade. These things are massive. I know they're 2 pieces, but still, like, this is easily one of the most iconic sights I remember from back in the day, honestly. It's just Volvo wagon taillights.
Oh, which we actually have plans on modifying these taillights. I forgot to mention.
Oh?
You know how the modern Volvos and the Dodges, they have those LED lights on the side?
Yeah.
We actually found out, since it's all a reflector, we can actually put it all up here, then run like a, what is it, PCB board? Yeah, we're gonna try to bring this into the 21st centuries.
All right, overall thoughts on this Swedish Chariot here. This thing is amazing. I've always heard of these cars. I've always seen them. I know they've had such a cult following, but I never really experienced how amazing these are till right now. Like, this thing is so cool. This is easily one of the most niche things you can own. For like in the terms of all-wheel drive, winter beater, winter machine. Is this worth owning? Yes, 1,000 times yes. Absolutely, yes, 100%. This thing is so good. I had no idea how much I was actually gonna like this car until today. I figured it was gonna be cool, but I now fully understand the hype with this motor. It's so awesome, and the fact it's a friggin' whole station wagon. Like, you can use this thing to do whatever you want for daily uses, and you'll be good. Actually, good comparison. Rob's gonna hate me for this, but so Rob's car versus this one, this feels so much more of a driving car than Rob's. Rob's is a great car for like an everyday commuter and just everyday fun car that's better than, say, a WRX, which, yes, this is a good car. This is a better car than WRX too. And I know I do like the WRX. We're gonna make that comment known now. I like the WRX. I just like to use it because it's easily, at least here in New England, the most popular choice of that kind of like category of all-wheel drive fun car. So if I had to choose between the two, definitely this. However, I am going to throw in there, it's worth learning how to work on it, is the best way I would describe it. These things can drain you real quick. What does R stand for again?
R stands for repair.
Even the engine bay itself, it didn't look too complicated. Give it a shot. Take a risk, take a chance, see if you like it. But other than that, I'm going to close this out with one last shot of this amazing looking brick. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon. be like music over this.
Yeah. But other than that, it's pretty stock. Just some small things like the what looks like the struck power brace is the upper engine mount.
Yeah.
So these silver mounts there usually have bushings. Those are solid, and the bushing for the upper engine mount going from rubber is now using 90